It's 2:04, so we'll get started. My name is Abby Getman-Skillicorn, and I'm delighted to be joined today by our panelists to talk about spring menu planning, utilizing local produce and school garden harvests in your meal program. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Mass Farm to School, we are a statewide nonprofit that works on strengthening local farms and fisheries and promoting healthy communities by increasing local food purchasing and education in schools. Through our network, we support professional learning opportunities like today, networking. We work on policy and advocacy efforts, including the statewide incentive program for school nutrition and the Massachusetts Fresh Grant. We also have a monthly newsletter for both food service staff and educators and community advocates on Farm to School. We believe that with Farm to School, it really takes a network, and it takes more than just one person. So we talk about the 3 C's of Farm to School, which are classroom, cafeteria, and community. And it can take all shapes and sizes as far as Farm to School looks in each school community. So I'm delighted to have with me today Laura Amadeo, who is the food service director for West Springfield Public Schools, Katie Metzger, the school garden coordinator and Essentia Care Alliance SNAP educator, and Bridge Boston Charter Schools, Cavern Glasgow, who's the food service director there. So if you would join me, Laura, do you want to just say a quick hello to our attendees?
Sure, hello. Yep. From West Springfield, we have student population of a little over 4,000 now.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. And Katie, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Also, Abby, are you sharing your slides right now? Because I can't see them.
Oh, no, I haven't been sharing slides. Oh, you should have let me know. I'm so sorry about that. I thought I was sharing slides.
There we are. Thank you. Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Metzger. I work as a school garden coordinator at a SNAP education or SNAP ed program within the nonprofit Essentia Care Alliance. We're based out of West Springfield, so we work a lot with the West Springfield Public Schools. And Laura, thanks.
Wonderful. And Cavern, do you mind introducing yourself as well? Oh, no. Can you unmute? Sorry.
Sorry about that. My name's Cavern Glasgow. I've been the food service director here at Bridge Boston for 1.5 years now. My background is as a chef. So, in what we do at Bridge is scratch cooking. So it's like farm to table type of food that we try to give the kids on a daily basis.
Awesome. Thank you. And so just a couple of housekeeping items, because I missed this by not following through on presenting my slide at the beginning. So today's webinar is about spring menu planning. We will be sharing out the slides, and this webinar is being recorded, so you can access it after today's presentation. Because it's a webinar, we are using the Q&A function of the webinar today. So just like in the DESE town hall meetings, pop your questions into the Q&A, and we will get to them towards the end of the presentation. So thank you for that. And I'll fast forward. We're going to have West Springfield start with a little bit of their story. Katie, do you mind starting?
Sure, thank you. So today, Laura and I will be focusing on 2 schools in particular in the West Springfield Public Schools District, Memorial and Mittenegg Elementary Schools, both of which are 1st to 5th grade schools. Both of them have had school gardens since 2019, and both of them are currently piloting Harvest of the Month programs in their cafeterias that we started this school year. I'm going to do a quick overview today of how we use produce from our school gardens in the school meals, mostly by showing you a lot of pictures about what we do. And then I'm going to hand it over to Laura, who can talk more about how our departments work together to get local produce, not just from the school gardens, but from many other local sources into the school meals. On this slide, you can see pictures from these 2 elementary school gardens. The top 2 are Mittenegg Elementary School, where we have 7 raised beds for about 9 classrooms and approximately 160 students there. And the bottom 2 across town is Memorial Elementary School, where we have 6 raised beds for 12 classrooms and about 200 elementary school students. With this few beds, we're never going to be able to completely supplement the food services all the time with the produce from these school gardens. So instead, we have a system where a designated proportion of the produce that we grow in these gardens is used for special tasting events that we do in the school cafeterias twice a year. So looking at this next slide, our garden programs are based on a model that was created by Backyard Growers. If you don't know them, they're a really awesome gardening nonprofit that works on the North Shore based out of Gloucester. You should look them up. You can see the very, very basic structure of their model here. This model solves the issues of there not being a lot of overlap between the growing season and the school year here in Massachusetts. It makes planning easier. It results in less food waste because we know up front which crops we're going to plant, when we're going to plant them, when they're going to be harvested, by who's going to eat them. And it also maximizes student participation in the school garden. We do other programs in the garden as well with certain groups or classes, but with this model, it guarantees that every student in these two schools is going to come out to do hands-on activities in the garden at least 3 times a school year to participate in planting in April, harvesting and planting in June, and then harvesting again in the fall. Let me go to the next slide. So these are some pictures of our harvest day at the end of the school year. We kind of skipped over, but important part of it is in early spring and April, the end of March, we get all of the students from each of these elementary schools out into the gardens over the course of 1 or 2 days. They come out 1 class at a time, and our SNAP Ed staff brings all the supplies, leads all the activities, and we plant crops that can grow quickly in cool weather. Then fast forward to these photos here in June. Before the end of the school year and before the students leave for the summer, we're able to harvest things like lettuce, spinach, radishes. You can see some really colorful ones here. And probably the most popular, sugar snap peas, which are up in the right there. If you look here, the ones on the left, the pictures are probably right before harvest day. You can see some pictures of students doing the actual lettuce harvesting. And a really important part of using the school garden produce and bringing it in and serving it to students is making sure everything is very sanitized and washed really well. You can see the bottom right, that is one of our SNAP Ed staff actually using that green salad spinner to do the initial rinse of the vegetables right there in the garden. You can go to the next slide.
And I want to apologize, Katie, for advancing a little too quickly earlier, but I will say for those of you who get to see the final slide deck that I had not projected at the very beginning, that photo of sugar snap peas is from a visit that I had at Memorial earlier last spring. So those snap peas were very popular, including some purple snap peas that y'all were growing.
Still talking about those. Plant those again pretty soon. So this is the day after we do the June harvest. It's important to get that lettuce served really quickly. We don't want it sitting around for too long after it has been harvested so it doesn't get wilty. But you can see on the left, we have a big salad tasting event in the school cafeteria. On the left there is some SNAP Ed staff. The food services at the schools very generously shares their space with us, lets us come in, and we further wash, prep, and serve a bunch of samples here of the lettuce. We make our own salad dressing. There's some chopped radishes on there. On the right is the principal of one of the elementary schools serving the samples at lunch, having the support from the, administration, teachers, maintenance staff, and of course, food services staff really makes this all happen for us. So this is the June tasting. Fast forward to the fall. We plant things in June that will grow all summer and are ready to harvest when the school year starts up again. So you can see some squash, potatoes are really fun to harvest, carrots. If you go to the next slide, we do the beginning of the school year, we do another tasting event. So this is mostly roasted root veggies is what we've done the past couple years. You can see on the left some colorful beets, some carrots, purple potatoes are very popular. You can see the teachers get involved by making signs for the students that they put up around the school. The sample cups at the bottom there, it's very colorful. And then on the right is us getting feedback. The students get to vote on how they feel about the recipes and what we've cooked. And you can see, they can say they love it, like it, it's okay, or not my thing. And almost, I'd say the majority of them really love it. Even if they try it and it's not their thing, I think the events make it really, really fun. They know when they see us that it's like a special thing. They know they're going to get a sticker if they try the food. So they get really excited about it. And I think it's really valuable and really fun. Provides a lot of learning from them to see the complete cycle, planting the seeds, harvesting what they planted, and then getting to eat it in their own school cafeteria. And again, none of that would be able to happen without Laura, food services director. I'm going to pass it on to her to talk about other ways that we get local food into the schools.
Thank you, Katie. So I've been with West Springfield for probably about 13 years now, less than 2 as director. I've been in food service for about 25 years, most of it K through 12. So this is my first year really diving into farm to school. And Katie and Megan, part of the team, reached out to me and to see if we could get together and, really get going on this. And I thought it was a great idea. This is almost, I feel like, full circle for me because I grew up in Hadley and I did farm work. That's how I made my money. I was up at 4:30 in the spring, all through high school, picking asparagus before I went to school. So I just, this gets me excited. So for Harvest of the Month, we decided, along with all the great produce that Katie and her team is supplying us with, I teamed up with Myers Produce, which is a woman-owned trucking company. And I've been ordering the Harvest of the Month through them. We had butternut squash from Plainville Farm, right from Hadley, where I grew up. March is yogurt, dairy. So we're going to get maple yogurt from Side Hill Farm, which is out of Holly, Mass, to coincide also with sugaring season. We're using Wellspring Harvest, which is hydroponic romaine lettuce out of Indian Orchard. And a couple other, the Pete's Greens. We had organic rainbow carrots, and Clarkdale Farms, another one close to me, is South Deerfield. We had pears. So what I normally do is just basically put this on the menu, and there's our kale pictures. Katie and her team will reach out, find out what the best day is for them to come to these 2 schools. We certainly want to get this into all of our schools. They recently had a meeting with our kindergarten school, so hopefully we'll get a garden going there, which I think the kids, I used to work at that school, and I think the kids are gonna absolutely love it. And then, if it doesn't work for the day that I have it on the menu, we will certainly work around that and do it on a day that it works for them and their team. Here's the kale. Katie told me I wasn't there this day, but the kids went crazy over these kale chips. Who knew? So I don't, right now, being my first year doing this, I don't really have a, formal contract with a large contract. Like I said, I'm using Myers Produce, but I'm keeping it under 10,000. Obviously in more years to come, I want to branch out, really get, involved with more local farmers. But Myers, I can't say enough good things about Myers Produce. They've been wonderful with us, very accommodating for us. So that's about all we're doing.
Sorry. I just wanted to check there wasn't another slide I was supposed to zip to. Laura, I'm glad you're working with Myers, and they are one of the food hubs. They're a locally owned locally women-owned trucking business. And
Yes.
They have a distribution center out of Hatfield.
Yes, they recently moved into the old food bank, and what they were in Hadley, North Hadley, and for years I've been driving by them when I was going to my parents' house and always wondered what exactly they were, what they did. So, and now here, we have a nice relationship with them.
That's awesome. And for folks who do want to partner with them, they did respond to the MAPC Northeast Produce RFP. So we can certainly provide those links in the chat for folks to be able to access the documents if you want to set them up as a vendor, if you plan to work with them in the future. But again, Katie and Laura, thank you for this awesome overview. I'll say, please put questions in the chat. I know that I have a couple for Katie and Laura towards the end of the presentation. But please, send us your questions over in the Q&A function and we can get to them. And next, we'll hand it over to Kavern to talk about what things look like at Bridge Boston.
Okay, so the slide's up. My name's Kavern. Again, I'm the food service director here at Bridge Boston for 1.5 years. We have a population about 335 students, right? We, let's say, work with approximately 40 pounds of vegetables a day, feeding our staff, our kids and staff. We utilize vegetables from, let's say, our farm that we normally get vegetables from, let's say it starts in April and it goes all the way till November. The name of the farm that we use is Gain and Ground, which provide us with, let's say, all these really gorgeous vegetables in the slide here, and we can, let's say, do things that are really interesting, like let's say the first one where we have the melody of vegetables, and that was a day we had rice and chicken, and that tray is actually our K1 or K2 class that we deliver meals to. So the next one over is a salad that we did for, let's say, the kids to go on a field trip, I believe, one day. It's just the greens from, let's say, Gain and Ground, together with the tomatoes and cucumbers, which kids just love tomatoes all the time. Moving on over, this is a melody that we have down here. I can't remember. I believe it's kale. It was baby kale that day in that salad with a bit of, let's say, tomatoes, radishes, cucumbers, all that stuff we get from Gain and Ground that provides us with all these vegetables. And when they come in, the kids are excited to see let's say, the amount of vegetables we get and the different types of vegetables that they get, because we really use products that they don't normally see at home. And it's, let's say, we are a very diverse community where, in terms of what they have at home and what they have at school, are like two different things. Moving on over to the other slide. Chips, potatoes, the kids, you can't help. This was a fish and chip day. We got that fish from Red's Best. We breaded it and served it, and the kids loved it, right? We'd also get fish from Red's Best. It's called a catch of the day, where we make, let's say, fish cakes. I don't have pictures of that, but then on here, this day was, let's say, a colorful trade also with the I believe the radishes that were, let's say, purple in color, which, let's say, had a lot of excitement in the cafeteria, and also a lot of, let's say, yucks and loves.
Strong feelings on radishes.
And you just have to listen to them, and then they would come back and say, when are we trying that yucky vegetable again? And I'm like, do you want to eat it, or do you just want to taste it? I'm like, well, try it again. And these are things that we do when we do, let's say, the fresh snacks of the day, the fruit snacks of the day, right? We've done dragon fruit, and we have people that say we love it. I know my godson said we need to pick the seeds out of it, right? Things like that they say to you, that you're like, well, we can't do this, but we blended it up and made a drink for him out of it. And he drank it, and he was happy about it.
That's awesome. Sorry to pre-advance, Kavern. Are you ready for me to go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Awesome.
So our garden sponsor is by, let's say, Green City Growers, right? And they built these 6 beds in the school for us. And they come in on I believe it's twice a week, and they, let's say, work with the kids, and the kids, playing in the dirt, planting the plants and everything, and then at the end they all wash their hands. For, let's say, give students taste test. When things are in the harvest stage, what we do is the class harvest the produce, they bring it into the kitchen, we wash it, take care of it and everything, and then we set up, let's say, it's normally 40 to a class. We normally set up 40 bowls of, let's say, something for them to taste, to see what it tastes like. If they like it, they like it, and if they don't, they would let you know about it, and they would actually tell you what they would like to see inside of it to bring it to their palate. That's how we give students taste in a fresh way. The use of the garden, our science department is using a curriculum whereby they whatever they grow in the garden, they have discussions about it in science class. That's something you'd have to reach out to them about. I am, let's say, familiar with what they do, but not, let's say, I don't have a exact of what really takes place. Next slide. Next slide. 2023, a mass fresh student learn life, multiple classrooms. This is just another slide of, let's say, what transpires in
I'm
the
so sorry.
garden.
I'm having technical issues with a browser that keeps trying to pop up. So let me try and get that out of there. Bridge Boston was one of the inaugural 16 school programs in the state who received the Mass Fresh grant last school year that helped build the school garden, which was built by Green City Growers and includes things like a cold frame. But as you can also see, more than just science class goes out and uses the outdoor classroom space.
Um,
Is my screen looking okay now, folks?
it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Look perfect. As you can see in this slide, right, we do have a music program here at Bridge, and one of the things they do is they do practice outdoors on a very nice day, and the kids just love taking their music out there. There are bees out there too, which, let's say, is sometimes of a challenge, but they all, let's say, struggle through it, you know. What's grown in the gardens? In terms of grains, we do, let's say, kale. We do, let's say, carrots, tomatoes, cucumbers, pests and issues. I don't believe we have any we don't really have a weather issue because of the fact that it's a enclosed bed. As you can see, sometimes we do, let's say, close it. We do have the luxury of, let's say, closing it so the rabbits don't get in that run around here on a daily, which is sometimes challenging. And when the rabbits do eat the fruits and the vegetables, we talk to the kids about, let's say, that's how things happen in the real world, and that's what goes on if a storm passes by and washes your vegetables away. You just have to keep on growing. You can go on to the next slide. Our kitchen is, let's say, a very modern kitchen. I have like about 3 convection ovens that I do almost everything with. Menu, let's say we are doing a menu this month whereby we put in a salad on every day. So if there is, let's say, a beef or let's say a chicken or something would have a salad. I have a list of salads that I'm actually planning on doing, which is like a taco salad, a cucumber salad, tomato salad, carrots. That's what these are some of the things that the food committee and I had a discussion with yesterday. That's a picture of us down below as we sit around and we have these, let's say, discussions of what they want to see and what they don't want to see. And they let me know what they don't want to see a lot of the time. But most times it's always positive. And even after we got done with this today, some people came up with a lot more ideas that I'm going to try to write into the menu this month, which is, let's say, they want to see grilled peaches, grilled pears, in their salad. So these are things that we're going to put in there for them to be, let's say, very excited as to what they're going to eat. I even had even someone even said to me today, it's like, if you're doing salad, let's do a fruit salad, and in my mind, I'm thinking greens, lettuce, but this kid said fruit salad. So I'm like, it's a salad. So it's on there. We're going to find a day to put it in.
I love that. Sorry, I want you to talk a little bit more at the kitchen about the kitchen committee towards the end, yeah, I guess if folks have questions, please put them into the Q&A function. Kavern, was there more that you wanted to add here? Or are you ready for the presentation to continue?
We're ready to continue.
Awesome. All right, so just to also kind of dispel folks' fears about utilizing, school garden produce, especially, the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources does have a Commonwealth quality program that includes best practices around garden food safety. So we will, I'll share a little bit about their Commonwealth quality program, just to that this is a resource that is free and available to you in any school district that really wants to utilize school garden produce in your meal programs. Excuse me. So, like I said, it was developed by MDAR through a USDA farm to school grant. And it really, it includes a checklist of ways to safely be handling the produce. As Katie had mentioned earlier in the presentation, a lot of it is just around making sure that you're washing your products thoroughly, washing your hands before you're handling the food, washing the food sometimes, certainly more than once, especially depending on the crop. Carrots might be a little bit more resistant to letting go of some of the dirt than some other foods, like a tomato that just needs a little bit of washing off. And so these materials are really used are designed to be used specifically for folks who want to include more school garden produce into their meal programs. And they include, print ready resources. So I will drop the links into the chat towards the end of the presentation for folks to be able to access that. So there are produce safety rules in Massachusetts, and this kind of overview in the Commonwealth Quality Program allows you to basically like hit all of those safety rules to make sure that you're growing, harvesting, and serving the safest food that you can. Where the standards do apply to fruits and vegetables that are normally consumed raw, and it doesn't apply to produce that's rarely consumed raw, like winter squash, or produce that's grown for personal consumption. So the level of washing that you might do to put things immediately on the school food menu and doing your salad days harvests like they do in West Springfield might be a little bit different if you're harvesting and sending produce home with students that they can wash at home. So the produce safety rules do cover, water amendments as far as like, the types of fertilizer that you're applying and how you're helping care for the soil, especially in the event that you're using some farm fresh products, which could include manure. There are health and hygiene practices, including hand washing. If someone's sick, like not, handling or harvesting produce when you're sick, and maintaining personal cleanliness, keeping animals wild and leashed, away from some of the produce that you're growing is a really great way to also prevent issues. And I know that is where Kavern had mentioned, with the cold frame, they're able to keep some of the critters out, especially when they're feeling extra ravenous in the springtime, so that the crops can grow uninhibited. And we also know that that's a perennial challenge, especially if you're growing really beautiful produce. You're probably going to have some squirrels or rabbits or others who might be interested in harvesting. I'm so sorry, harvesting that as well. There's information in the program about the kinds of tools or equipment that are really useful for utilizing school garden harvests. As you saw in one of the earlier pictures, Centria does do an initial salad washing right out at the school garden. And there's also additional training that is available for folks who want to go through the Commonwealth Quality Program if you want to get your school certified for that. We held a training with MDAR last spring, which I'll share the link to in the chat as well. It's not required, but it's sometimes a nice thing to have, especially if you have folks in your community who are feeling more concerned about the food safety of whatever the produce is that you're growing in your school garden. And there are also just, heads up, growing sprouts and things that are easy to grow in the wintertime also should be grown with care. And so there is specific materials around how to prepare sprouts so that they're free of pathogens before you're serving them, especially because those are usually consumed raw. So in any case, this is a program that is free and available to you through the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources. You can schedule a voluntary school garden audit, and you can, upon being audited, you can get that certification. So just so you know that there is that information out there. As far as for Mass Farm to School, we have our 7th annual or biannual Farm to Sea in School conference that is centering on issues of climate change and community this year. It's taking place on March 22nd out at Smith College in Northampton. The day before, on the 21st, we'll have a variety of field trips happening throughout Western Massachusetts. Some of them have already sold out, so if you have not yet registered, please do so. I'll pop that link into the chat as well. And something else that I wanted to make sure folks know about is we do have our Farm to School Institute. It's a year-long professional development learning opportunity for schools in different districts that can register and enroll to get year-long professional development coaching. Forgive me, this slide was not updated with the date, but we'll have the registration for the 24-25 school year coming out shortly. And then in addition to that, we do work in conjunction with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, who is continuing to push their school wellness initiative for thriving community health called Switch. And so that is, putting the legs behind school wellness policies and building allyship in your school community. We know that folks who are especially trying to grow and serve more healthy foods coming out of their school gardens or from area farms are certainly interested in this. So district wellness coordinators are usually the key point person on a wellness committee or on the wellness policy, and there are additional resources that you might be able to lend towards their efforts in your school community. We do have a local food map. So as Laura had mentioned, she's sourcing from Myers Produce, Kavern sourcing from the community farm in Concord. And so those vendors and many others are available on our local food map that is on our website and is searchable by crop or food. Like if you're looking for beef versus fish, as Kavern was saying, he gets the special catch from Red's Best. And then we also have our Harvest of the Month program, which Laura has also talked about today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to questions for folks, and I will work on adding things to the chat. I guess one question as I'm waiting for folks to populate the Q&A, if you do have questions, a question that I have for Kavern is how your kitchen committee was founded, and like who are the students who attend and how frequently do you meet?
Okay, so my first group was, let's say, 2 kids that used to come help me for breakfast in the morning with the lower grades. One of the kids he's diabetic, so he and I have conversations on a daily basis of what he wants to eat because he doesn't eat everything, right? And from that, they had a group where they called the school runs. He's an 8th grader now, and they were asking for, let's say, school activity volunteers. So they volunteer to do things in the kitchen and in different parts of the school. And my kitchen was one of the places that he and his friend opted to volunteer to come and work. And so when that started, we started talking about menus, and we started throwing back ideas at each other. And I would give them the menu and they would just tell me what they want. They helped me with the Black History Month menu, right? Knowing that it had, let's say, a lot of controversy of how to do a menu like that, right? I basically did a region, which is Louisiana cuisine, right? And I did a lot of, let's say, foods from that area to populate the entire month. In fact, at first I was only doing 4 different days. And then one of the kids pointed out to me, it was Black History Month, so why can't we not just do the entire menu, right? So that's when I decided to put meatloaf on today, right? And I walked over and asked him how is the meatloaf, and he basically looked at me and he said, it looked good. I tried my friend's meatloaf, but all I eat is salad because of who I am. And that's things that I get from them. They tell me ideas, they give me thought processes, and I use it for the rest of the school. And that's just the way things go. The bouncing back of information.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Kavern. So I guess Katie and Laura, understanding that you're currently doing your program in the Salad Days program in 2 of your schools, what are the things that you made the communication sound so easy between the 2 of you? And I think that speaks really to the relationship that you both have. And I'm just curious, looking forward at the expansion in your district of doing garden programming. It sounds like you need to build a school garden, but like, what are some of the other things that you're trying to put into place in order to expand your programming beyond Memorial and Mittnog?
Katie, do you want to take that?
I mean, Laura has been just, again, instrumental in making this all happen, at least on the food services cafeteria side of things, just being excited about this and willing to put in the extra effort to find local foods, and also being willing to let us come into your cafeterias, in your kitchens. So that's huge. We really appreciate you. And kind of like I said before, the more people in the school or the district that you have on board, the easier it is to get the things done. Like I'm meeting with the town next week to make sure we put the garden in the right place on the school property. And, there's a lot of coordinating, and principal had to give the go ahead and talk to the maintenance staff, and then we'll get to know the teachers and the students. So
awesome. And when you were doing the site assessment for like where you want to put the school garden, what's that process been like? Because there are some considerations that I know you're making.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure, you're getting the basics, like you're going to have enough sun there, you have enough space for the kids to fit around the garden beds and to have the garden beds, that water is easily accessible. And a big one for me is that it's an area of the school that the kids actually interact with, and it's not like way back behind the school that no one goes to unless it's garden harvest day, just to make it something they see it change and see it grow, even when there's not official programming happening.
Awesome. Do you have opinions about fencing versus not fencing?
Oh, of those 2 elementary school gardens we were showing you earlier, one has a fence and one doesn't.
Uh-huh.
The one with the fence has had more pest issues and more damage from humans issues than the one without the fence. So I don't know.
I hear that.
Katie and her team, all her volunteers are just so great to work with. They have a great attitude, and my staff is thrilled to be working with them. And I really know that we can really expand on this. It's even to have them, I've asked them to even come into classrooms to do more nutrition, for the kids, starting at kindergarten and, working our way up. It's, we're in the process of updating our wellness policy. So we would like to incorporate more, nutrition subjects, whatever they can talk about.
That's awesome. That's a great point. Katie, I think you glanced over this earlier in your presentation, but talking a little bit more about like the number of volunteers or SNAP educators that you're usually having on a harvest day kind of thing. Can you talk a little bit more about the staffing behind getting students out into the school garden? So you're talking about working with littles versus Kavern, who's talking about, having this focus group of middle and high school students helping inform his menu choices.
Yeah. I mean, the easier part about working with first graders is more of them fit around one raised bed. We got that going for us, but they do need a little more oversight. Usually there's 2 or 3 of us there, in addition to one of the school staff members. One of the schools, we do have a great group of parent volunteers that comes and helps at these events too. We have not been able to recruit many at the other school yet, but that's okay. We have a lot of the staff on board. But we really do have a unique program that we're very lucky that the Essentia Snap Ed staff are paid to be there, which is just a huge advantage that we're able to, plan and coordinate and carry out these things so that the school staff doesn't have to take that on in addition to all the other things they're doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wonderful. And I guess I'm not seeing questions come in out of the Q&A, but do you have questions for each other? Kavern, did you have questions for the West Springfield team and vice versa? Did West Springfield have questions for Kavern and Bridge Boston?
I don't have a question, but everything looks fantastic.
Thank you. We do try to, let's say, work with the kids, and we do, let's say, have them come in when we do things like that to say, how do you want this to look, things like that, it's all about, let's say, interacting with the kids at your school, learning from them, seeing what they want, like we look at things and we hear things and we do things, but then you have an audience out there, and believe it or not, they might be a K1 to an 8th grade, but they're your main clients that you have to make happy at the end of the day.
Right. And it's all about getting the kids to try something, that they normally probably wouldn't have.
You're growing adventurous eaters, right?
Exactly.
I saw a food service director on Monday who had been doing a taste testing at their local farmers market, and the student who was used to monthly taste testings for Harvest of the Month came up to their table and was like, all right, what are we trying today? And the mom was like, wait a second, who are you? And how do you know my child? And why is he responding this way? And the food service director was like, well, we're trying hummus with local carrots today. And he's like, awesome. And the mom was like, you eat hummus? I think that's like a common, the more that you're building that kind of taste testing muscle with students, like Kavern, you were saying, like on the radishes, they have a strong reaction, and yet they're interested in coming back for more another time.
Had stories like that where parents would say, my kid said this, and I'm like, I didn't know that you guys, we were in the grocery store, and they were like, Mom, let's get the dragon fruit. And the mother was like, you don't eat dragon fruit. What do you know about it? And then they found out that the kids were having dragon fruits and stuff at school. So, the mom got it because, the kids saw it and they were excited about it. They see things that they don't regularly have at home.
Yeah. It's a nice opportunity. I know I didn't grow up with dragon fruit, so getting to experience it, through the FFVP program as an educator was really nice. So it broadened my horizons too.
One of the things that they keep asking me for is pink pineapples. And there is a thing called pink pineapples out there because the 8th graders love the internet for some strange reason. And I called up the produce company and they told me it was special order. They don't carry it, but I can go on the internet and buy it, special order, with a price that nobody's gonna get it. But I came back to them and I said, look, we can't have pink pineapples, but, we can have regular pineapples. It's the same thing, The pink, you really don't want to try that. It's genetically altered.
Great teaching moment. Wonderful. Oh, this was so fun. Thank you all for coming and sharing more about your programs. I think it's really exciting to hear what you're doing in your school communities. We can leave the Q&A up for another minute, but we do have, I put a bunch of the links that were in the slide deck into the chat function. But as mentioned, this has been recorded and we will be sharing it back out after the presentation today. So yeah. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm really delighted. The amount of inspiration that I got from seeing all of your food photos, you know, both in West Springfield and in Bridge Boston, does a lot to the soul, seeing all that color. So thanks for sharing all you're doing.
Thanks again for having us.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to close out today's webinar. We'll be in touch soon. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks.